Hi, this is Kevin Croak, head coach at UCD Rugby Club. In this series of interviews, in conjunction with club sponsor Crow, we talk to past and present players who share their memories of the club and how it has impacted their career both on and off the field. In this video, I catch up with former women's player Alix Coleman, and she shares her memories of the Colours Trinity in 2017 and how she feels being a member of the club has helped her in her career in nursing. Ali, can you tell us a little bit about the background to your rugby experiences so far?
Hi. So I started playing rugby. I actually played for 2 years at under 11s and under 12s in Sea Point on a boys team. But after my brief outing there, I started playing senior rugby in 2015 for Blackrock College RFC. And then I started in UCD and I joined the college team there. And in about Christmas 2015, met all the girls, instantly fell in love with the team and the coaches and the whole setup. In 2016, I started playing with the Leinster women's team. We won an Interpros that year, and then played all through the two teams, 2017 and 2018, until I was out for a year with injury, and then came back and played again with Blackrock and UCD for the last 2 years until I finished my studies.
What did you study in UCD and what career did you end up in?
So I actually started in UCD. I just did a 1-year PT course. And then after that year, I kind of thought about what I wanted to do long term, and I decided to go into nursing. So I started nursing in 2016, and then I graduated this year, and I've been working in St. Vincent's University Hospital since.
What is your favourite memory of playing rugby in UCD?
I'd say one of the memories that stands out the most to me is Colours in 2017 when we played in the Bowl. I'd been involved in the team the year before when we played over in College Park, but that was our first victory in Colours since it started the year before. But the year we played in UCD just really stands out in my mind. It was a double header with the men's team, so they're playing after us, and the vibe around the Bowl was just amazing. All the supporters and the kind of media leading up to it, getting everyone out to support was really lovely. And then getting all our family there to celebrate it with us as well and get the win.
Has being a member of UCD Rugby Club helped you develop any skills that translate into your professional career?
I mean, obviously the first thing you kind of do when you're playing on a team is working with other people, figure out how to communicate effectively and get your points across in what could be very limited time, and trying, if there's problems arise during the game, to fix them and move on. And that kind of has helped me, especially working in the hospital and working with a vast group of other kind of professions. If something comes up, it's obviously usually a time sensitive matter, and you need to kind of think on your feet and contact whoever you need to contact to get it sorted. So that kind of, teamwork and effective communication is definitely something I think I've learned from rugby and other team sports that I've played.
In this video, we meet with Ian McKinley and talk to him about his experiences in UCD and his time playing for Leinster and Italy. We have a couple of questions we'd like to ask you today, myself and Kev, and we might kick off with the first one. Can you tell us what it was like when you were coming from St. Columbus into the UCD fold, and how you found the transition in terms of meeting guys from different schools and all of that, and who some of your contemporaries might have been?
Yeah, so St. Columbus is not exactly a rugby school, so to find myself, fortunate enough to get onto a UCD scholarship and play with guys that I had played through probably towards the latter stage of my school career was fantastic. That definitely propelled me in helping me play for Leinster, playing with guys like John Cooney and even Shane Grinnell, who didn't go on to he played, with the senior team in UCD, but he was like a fantastic player. So to play with guys like that really could only have made your game better. So, the facilities there were fantastic. And as I said, it was pretty handy for me doing, being able to do my Leinster training, walk across the field, and then, there was UCD. So it was a pretty complete package.
when you came in out of school, you're obviously bringing a lot of guys together who haven't played together before. Was there any one moment that stands out for you when you noticed that the team was starting to come together?
If you're to talk about a game where we came together, remember we played like a Friday night game against Belleville, and we absolutely obliterated them. And just for some reason, that sort of seemed to be like the coming together of the team. Like, we were a pretty talented group of players, but we were always it was a good rivalry at Lansdowne, so it was us and Lansdowne. But I just remember that game in particular of everyone pulling together and just playing for the badge, and that sort of propelled onto the UCD first team. So Croaky, I remember playing with you, Kev McLaughlin, Ferg was obviously there, Vaz, Artmeniev, but I suppose the first real memory I remember, they said not many 20s guys got on in the first year. Myself and John Cooney were lucky enough to do that, but I just remember Mick Hastings sort of put his arm around me and trying to explain different patterns and stuff like that, which was basically the same as the 20s. So it sort of put me at ease. So, to have someone like that who had been around at the club for so many years to, in some ways have this little pup coming up and trying to take someone's spot, and he also played a bit out half as well, for him to put his arm around me and say, look, this is what we're trying to do, made you feel very relaxed, made you feel very welcome, and sort of thinking outside of non-selfish reasons, but thinking, try and get this guy integrated and feel as at home as possible. So that was always something I'll always remember.
Ian, you came into UCD from Columbus, which isn't a traditional powerhouse in the schools game. So there's a bit of a transition from school to club, and you're in a pretty strong under-20 side. How did you find that transition between school and club helped you to make the transition from club to professional rugby?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I went from a situation where, we were playing in schools rugby was divided up whenever I was playing into sort of 4 tiers, and we were playing in the 3rd division. So to go from that to all of a sudden training against a Leinster backline that had Contaponi, O'Driscoll, Darcy, Luke Fitzgerald, Rob Kearney, Ethan Athay, where you're sort of going, well, that's a massive jump. So to be able to have played with Vaz, Artmeniev, to be able to have played with Ferg, McFadden, it was vital for development, and it was as professional as you could have gotten, without almost, if I dare say, sort of over the top, which I think is really important. You're there to develop, and it was one of the reasons I was really happy to stay in the school that I was in, because I didn't, I wanted to become a professional rugby player, don't get me wrong, but I just thought at a young age, for it to be completely thrown at you from an early age, I think you could have potentially burned out. So UCD definitely, had a great balance in terms of having fun, but also trying to be serious and trying to be the best that you can be. So no, that absolutely helped.
Ian, you're in a rare group of professional fellas who haven't played in a colours match at senior level. Maybe you could give us a couple of your memories from playing against Trinity at under-20 level.
No, well, in terms of the colours match, my dad actually played for Trinity. So for me to play for the Blue at UCD, obviously, yeah, I can see the look there. A bit of family rivalry, but no, of course, a match steeped in tradition and history, and to play a small part in that game. And I remember we won that game 13-6, if my memory serves me well. It was a wet day, so no, I remember that well, and I had the bragging rights at home anyway.
Okay. So turning to a more difficult topic, you suffered a pretty horrific injury in 2010, which initially looked like it was going to cut short your career in a significant way. That time you moved to Italy and developed your coaching career. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about how you found the journey from being a player to being a coach in a foreign country?
In terms of the injury, there was a couple of things that UCD, helped out tremendously. So whenever, unfortunately, I had that incident in 2010, the UCD medical staff, and I know I've gone on record countless times saying, but they were fantastic. The doctor there and the medical team, like, they were outstanding in getting me the best care that I could have. So I'll be, forever grateful for that. Also, whenever I had initially retired, UCD were really open into helping me develop the coaching side of things. So I, apart from playing, I have a big passion in coaching. So coaches would have said, if you want to come and take an under 20s warm up or help out or whatever, and just try and learn, really open. And that's the sort of great thing about rugby, and in particular, obviously UCD just having an open door policy. There's someone, unfortunately me, just maybe falling by the wayside a little bit and not developing due to an injury, but that didn't really matter to them, and they were happy just to keep me on board. And so things like that definitely helped me in moving over to Italy and transitioning it, into coaching. That rugby is a fantastic sport for having diversity, having a huge amount of people from different backgrounds, and no matter what sort of happened to you, you're always learning about the game. And there was a young guy in me trying to learn my trade as a coach, and UCD just opened the door and said, if you want to come for whatever trainings, you're more than welcome. So again, like whenever I was playing, that made me feel very welcome.
And in terms of some of the players you mentioned earlier, Johnny Cooney and so forth, I guess you would have established some pretty long-term relationships and friendships arising from your time in college.
Yeah, it's certainly been a different path for me personally, just moving away age 22, moving to Italy for nearly 10 years, and ending up playing against the guys that you were growing up playing against and with, to then suddenly playing against them at international or Pro 14 level was certainly different. So no, I mean, special moment, if I'm to think of maybe one special moment, no, definitely when Italy, we played in Chicago against Ireland in 2019, and John just came into the changing room afterwards, and we exchanged jerseys and everything like that. So memories like that definitely are. It's sort of funny to think, 10 years previously, even maybe a little bit more, you were talking out for UCD under 20s. Then UCD first game, I think our first game together was against Ballymena in 2009. So then all of a sudden, fast forward 10 years later, and you're playing for different countries. But the respect is still always there, and the camaraderie is still always there.
In this interview, we catch up with Alix Cunneen. She gives us her experience of taking up rugby for the first time when she came to UCD, and how she's gotten involved in the rugby club, both on and off pitch. Alix, thanks for taking the time to jump on here and have a chat. Maybe to kick us off, what you might do is give us a rundown through your career in rugby and your experiences in UCD.
Yeah, so basically I never played rugby before I came to college, and kind of always liked it. Joined in first year, just said I'd, try and make a few new friends outside my course, and threw myself in the deep end. And then the next year I took on the role of secretary, and then the year after I decided to become the president, and then I've been the president ever since. So
brilliant. And you didn't play rugby at all before coming into UCD?
No, I always watched it on TV and kind of wanted to play, but I suppose with the leaving cert and everything, I didn't really have time. So glad to get the opportunity when I did come to college.
Did you play any other sports in school, and what was it that prompted you to pick up the oval ball when you got into college?
I actually never did a team sport before coming to college. It was all, I did swimming and I did Irish dancing and then horse riding as well. So it's all individual. So I suppose it was a bit weird starting, but I like the aggressive side of it, and I thought it'd be a good way to keep fit,
Alix, you joined the club having not been involved in rugby before, coming up from Cork. So you're out of home in a new environment. What benefits does being involved in the rugby club have for the girls who decide to take part?
Well, I suppose like me, I'm from Cork, so I didn't really know that many people when I came to college, and there's so many people that come and they're from pretty much everywhere around the country, and it's gas because when they turn up to training on the first day, you spot a few people and they're really quiet, and then they start talking to other people, and then 2, 3, 4 weeks in, they're showing up to every training, they're on every night out, and then by the end of the year, they're a completely different person. Like someone who was so shy at the start is now like even a leader towards the end. So it's great to see in that way, and then it just kind of continues on from year to year then, and they get stronger, and then it happens again and again.
And what were those first couple of training sessions like, on the rugby side, on the social side? What was your initial takeaway from taking up a new sport?
Well, there was actually a girl in my course who kind of said she'd come along and join as well. So we kind of rocked up together the first day, and like there was loads of girls there. We were kind of taken aback really, but they were all so friendly. And then the second we got to the first training, they were already organising the first night out. So I suppose that kind of definitely kept me going. And no, it was really good. Like it was serious, but it was fun as well. So it was proper training and we worked hard, but then we definitely got the rewards afterwards as well.
You came in and picked up rugby when you started in college. What game stands out to you as a particular high point through your college career?
I think there's been a lot. It's been very up and down, but definitely colours in the bowl stands out. I know everyone's probably going to say that, but it really was. It was very good. The doubleheader with the men's. It was just a great atmosphere, and there was a huge crowd, and there was so much effort went in behind the scenes to get it live streamed, and I think it just meant so much more to everyone else that their parents who are at home, because obviously everyone's not from Dublin, their parents were able to watch and tune in, and then once we were finished playing, we got fed and then went to watch the men's match, and there was loads of fun and drink afterwards, so it was great.
Part of being on a college team is having the crack and getting to know your teammates off pitch. How did you find your experiences in UCD helped you to do that?
I think there was always a social aspect, and there's like a social committee, so they're always really up for organising nights out and everything. But I think the main thing, we go on tour every second year normally, and I was lucky enough to be on two, so we went to Edinburgh, and just last year before the pandemic hit, we got back just in time from Madrid. So I think they're really good because it's a mix of senior players and then new players, so you really get to know people better, and I mean just kind of immerse yourself then in the culture in other countries. We've had some questionable post-match meals, but no, it was all really good, and like you can go sightseeing and everything in between matches, and then even just getting to play together and kind of try out new positions, and it's all just a bit of fun. I think it's really good.
How have you found the responsibility of being in a leadership role within the club? And what would you, if you could change one or two things, what would you change?
I actually loved it. I think I'm probably known to be a bit of a control freak as it is, but I tried to I suppose I tried to use it to help me to kind of develop how to work as a team and like with the other committee. And then I suppose as well, having the meetings with the executive committee and the men's committee, it got me ready and I suppose used to those sort of settings, more intense meetings, kind of having to have things prepared, get over my nerves, made me more confident. So I think that was really good. And then also, I suppose, just kind of seeing the club grow and knowing that like you put hard work into it and got everything ready for the matches, and tried to add little touches like for colours, having kind of, fruit and jellies for half time, like even those sort of small things which wouldn't have been done before. And I think everyone kind of really appreciated it, and then that spurred me on to keep going and keep doing it more.
What couple of things that you learned from being involved in the club on and off pitch that you think you'll take onwards into your professional career?
Well, I think definitely before I joined college, I was one of those people who hated talking to strangers and wouldn't want to answer a phone call if it came my way. So definitely having to, branch out and talk to people in different clubs, even students in different clubs when you're organising matches, and then coaches, people involved in the IRFU, everything just got me just so much more comfortable in those kind of positions. And I suppose that'll definitely stand to me in the future.
In this video, we talked to Sean O'Brien, who tells us about his experiences in Tullow, UCD, Leinster and London Irish. So Shawnee, thanks for your time again in doing this. The two themes that we will look at are kind of fostering talent and forging relationships. We might deal with forging relationships first. You were, like myself, a country kid coming up to a city club in UCD. How did you find that transition from home into UCD, and what were the first couple of relationships that you made in the club that helped you to settle in?
Yeah, it was. I suppose it was a strange enough time for me actually in my life, moving from home to UCD. But I kind of had to embrace a new chapter and a new environment and new people pretty quickly, because you don't have your family or your brother or your sister or anyone that's around the corner from you anymore. It's you're on your own in the big smoke, as I said. And I suppose when I first went into UCD, the one good thing that that was there straight away was good people. And having the rugby club there and having good neighbours actually beside me in Merville. I was living on campus at the time, and it made it so easy. There was 4 country girls who all played camogie living opposite me, and they were right crack, and they used to leave the door open for me to go in and watch home and away, because I hadn't that channel for some reason in my flat. I'd the rest of them. I'd 1, 3 and 4 or something, I think, but they used to leave that open for me. And after training or after a lecture, I used to nip back there and watch home and away at lunchtime, and sometimes eat some of their food. But so that was quite nice that I had a connection, I suppose, with people straight away from my own background as well. They were all from farming backgrounds, and then some of the lads I was living with, I was playing rugby with as well, and then I was in the Leinster Academy, so I had Fergus McFadden and a few of these boys that I was seeing every day as well, that I kind of embraced and got to know really quickly. And then on the rugby side of it, I suppose you were there at that stage as well, a countryman that I knew.
You came to UCD as an emerging talent player. How did your time in UCD help you to develop your playing talents?
I think the second year I was there, near the halfway through the season, I think I got onto the first team. And I suppose training with the academy at the time and training with the first with UCD as well, and it gives you that confidence that you're able to physically, I suppose, match an older man. And I suppose I had that team that we had at that stage, and you were involved in it, had a lot of experienced AIL players who had played a lot of games. And I don't remember like one person or anything like that having a massive influence, but the whole team was just good and it was experienced. And I was looking around going, well, these boys have been here before, they played at the highest level for a long period of time. Make sure I embrace it and learn and take something from each of them. There was a lot of lads, in fairness, in UCD that were really into their weights and fit people. And I kind of, that side of things, I kind of looked at other people, even you and all the other back rowers that were in there, and they were like really minding themselves and looking after themselves, for players who were just playing with UCD and playing in that AIL competition. So that was a bit of an eye opener, saying that I needed to make sure that I was looking after myself as best as possible and trying to develop and not having breakfast rolls on a Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. No, I think the overall part of it was just I had a really good group of lads around me that I could learn off, and knew that they'd have my back as well. A young fella that's after coming into the team, and that made me feel comfortable, and that made me kind of express myself and just play rugby and enjoy myself.
Is there any one moment that you remember from your time playing in UCD that sticks out to you?
I think one of the most enjoyable moments in terms of how close we got after it was the relegation match against Banbridge. Was it Banbridge? No, was it Banbridge?
Belfast Harlequins, the 6-3.
Belfast Harlequins, that's it. That was it. Andy Ward was playing for them. I remember after that game just being so happy to be a part of that team at the time, and we dug in and got the result that we needed. But looking around, I was like, this means so much more to so many more people than just us on the field. I think that was a big moment as well, of how influential, I suppose, a club has on a lot of people. And there mightn't be people actually directly involved in it, but the overall picture is that they care about the place. And that stood out for me after that. And the night after was good crack too, mind you. So we definitely that day and the day after that was a special time, actually.
How did you find your time in UCD helped you to develop as a talented player?
I think I had very good coaches for starters. At under 20s level when I first came in, and I think there was good people around me at that stage as well. And as I said about you boys in the senior squad and everything like that, but between UCD and Leinster, I had good, sound people who were very honest with me too, that probably questioned me and made me think about things differently. There was certain parts of my game that I didn't know enough about, and those coaches, I suppose, you talk about fostering talent, they put the wheels on the right track and kind of kept following up with me as well, and made sure that I was developing the way I wanted to, and and probably what they seen from me too was a big thing. So they seen something in me and they tried to manage that as best they can.
What are the couple of things that you're doing to help the talents around you to develop in London Irish?
So I said to myself, I'm going to have conversations for 2 or 3 weeks here and get to know the ins and outs of the club and ins and outs of different personalities. And that's probably been one of the biggest things that I tried to do early on, was actually talk to people and listen, rather than talk to people and tell them. I had conversations, I asked questions, I listened to people, got a flavour for what they were like, and you kind of get to know the traits of different people then. And then you can start, if you know that, I think that's one of the biggest learnings for me over here. When I knew that about different people and I knew them, kind of got under their skin a little bit, I knew how to deal with them then, and I knew how to teach them.
In this interview, I catch up with Alice O'Callaghan, former player, captain, president, and now head coach of the Women's Rugby Club. Hi Alice, give us a quick rundown of your background in rugby and in particular with UCD.
I guess my background, I've always been a fan of rugby, and I decided to start playing when I joined UCD, study commerce. So that was back in 2011, and it was my first time playing rugby with the club, and it was quite small numbers there in the women's section at the time, but there was some really great people involved who were great fun and great at kind of, I guess, helping you learn the game. And from there I kind of progressed to being the club captain in 2016 and the president of the club, and now I'm the head coach of the women's team.
What is your favourite rugby memory?
I'd say my favourite memory was, I guess, my last match as a player, which was the Colours game in College Park in 2016. We won on the very, very, very last play. I think it must have been the 83rd or 4th minute. And it was a kind of started off from our own 5 metre line to managing to get up to the halfway line, lose the ball, get the ball back, and then score the try to win the game. And I guess we'd had a great season insofar as we'd really built up the numbers, but we'd had some big losses during our league kind of campaign. So to come back and win that game the way we did, it was just incredible.
In what way do you think being a member of the club has helped you develop skill sets that you can take into your professional career?
I think what it's done both as a player and as a coach, it's just really helped me with, I guess, building relationships with people from all different backgrounds. Also communication, when you're on a rugby pitch, it's really important how you communicate with your teammates, and that it's effective, and even off the pitch, how you can help people, be it with constructive criticism and feedback, and then helping and support them become better players, and also for them to help you become a better player and to give you feedback and to take that on board and try and move forward with it.
In this interview, we catch up with Rob Kearney, who shares his insights on fostering talent and developing relationships, his transition from school into university, onto Leinster, Ireland, the Lions, and onwards now into his role with the Western Force, and how he's sharing his experiences to help them develop their talent. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience coming from Clongowes into UCD, and what was the transition like moving from schoolboy rugby into club rugby?
Yeah, I think it was probably the biggest challenge for me, coming straight out of sporting school, and you're living with your friends and the guys that you play with for effectively the 6 years before that. You've built up really strong relationships, and good bonds with your friends, and then I left Clongowes, and you're going to a university where you're meeting all these new people, out of your comfort zone very much. And that was something that I found was a real challenge for me in those first few months, particularly coming into that under-20s team and all these guys that you might have played against throughout the school calendar, or some of them you would have played alongside at schoolboy level. But you're really very much back to square one in terms of building new relationships and forging a new identity as a team and with your teammates.
So Rob, what was your first impression of the club?
Yeah, I think the great thing about it was that it was really inclusive. And, I was playing a year above my age grade with the 20s when I came straight out. So I wouldn't have known too many of the guys. And I was definitely very struck at how inclusive the whole thing was. It was still very professional, and it was something that I really craved coming straight out of school. Was that I wanted to get into, an environment where people really cared about the rugby and they wanted to win and they wanted to be successful. A lot of guys come straight out of school and they go to those clubs where, rugby is important, but, going on the session at the weekend and having your midweek sessions is important too. And that was something that I think really stood to me, was that UCD at the time was very professional, and there was a real onus on winning and making sure that you were preparing as best as you can for the weekend, because that's what I wanted. I just wanted to get into the professional ranks or get into the first team as quickly as I could. And when you've got a group of like-minded guys coming straight out of school who want to perform really good on the rugby field every weekend, it's a pretty powerful place.
So you came from Clongowes into UCD. Can you maybe give us an idea of what that transition was like, playing against or playing with guys that you used to play against, and what you thought of the whole dynamic when you arrived?
Yeah, I think probably the group of the Blackrock boys and Michael's lads are, they're definitely the two stereotypes that you think that, we're not going to build relationships here, and, very much you're like-minded individuals, and we're coming from boarding school up in Kildare. We're never going to be able to forge a team and work together. But it's amazing how quickly you leave all of that to a side, and you get into that environment. And, what I also liked was quite quickly you moved away from what school you played in or what school you were from. You came into the under-20s environment, and all of a sudden now you were a UCD player as opposed to a Clongowes boy or a Blackrock boy. And I think that was really important too.
Rob, as you know, sport has a lot of highs and lows. Are there any moments that stand out for you from your time with the club?
Yeah, there was a few times on both ends of the spectrum. There was times when I thought things are going really well. I'm going to go places here. And then there was definitely a few games where I got sent back from Leinster after a bad game once. Michael Cheika sent me back to play for UCD. And I think we played out in Malahide or somewhere, but I had the worst game of my life. And I thought that I was never going to get back into a Leinster changing room after that. I think the year we won the Macquarie Cup under-20s, that was a really good season. I remember one game against Terranure away, and they played us on a small field. They thought that they were going to try and bully us a little bit. And I was place kicking at the time, and we got so many penalties inside our own half, and we were playing on a tiny field, and I was kicking them over from inside our own 10-meter line, which was nice to be able to do, given that they'd purposely use an under-13s pitch to try and play us on.
A big part of the university experience in rugby is playing in the colours. What are your memories of playing in your first colours?
My first experience of the colours match, well, I'll give you a funny backstory to it. I was in national camp at the time, and Ireland were playing the All Blacks that weekend. I think I was 18 or 19 years of age. Eddie O'Sullivan was the coach at the time. And on the Monday night before he announced his team to play the All Blacks at the weekend, he pulled me aside and said, listen, I want to have a chat with you outside. And I was thinking, all right, what is going on here? Am I just about to be named in the team to play the All Blacks? So anyway, we go outside and he says, listen, I've just had a call from the UCD coach and he wants you to play the colours match at the weekend. So it was funny how the news broke of how I was going to be playing in it. But I loved it. It was a great experience to play it in Donnybrook, a pitch that, you know, was home of Leinster at the time, and schools rugby was always so big there. You know, to get the win and be one from one in my colours is something that I'm very proud of.
That's brilliant. Thanks for that. And in terms of your experiences in UCD, how would you say they compare to some of the other teams that you played on? You know, Leinster, Ireland, and the Lions, and now the Western Force.
I think you get older as you move on, and your role changes within different teams. But I think the basis of it is all very simple, and it's the exact same team. You go into a new environment, and it's just about making friends as quickly and as simply as you can, and forging those new relationships, because you'll never get into a successful environment or be a good team if you don't have a strong foundation of friendship along the way. And when you go out to play, you know, a tough 80 minutes of rugby at the weekend, you know, you simply have to know that the guy on your left and right is going to put it in for you. And if you don't have a friendship or, you know, some sort of a bond when you cross the whitewash, that's not going to happen. And, you know, regardless of what team it is, be it the Lions, like you say, UCD, under 13s rugby, you know, not even in sport, but in business too, it's so important that the very first thing you do is build a strong relationship with your teammates.
So you've moved to Perth. Looks like you're enjoying yourself down there. Maybe give us an idea of what your ambition is for the time that you're there, and, you know, how you think your experience as an international and as a British and Irish line can benefit the team that you're playing on down there.
You know, I've been playing professional rugby for 15 years. I've been lucky enough to have been in so many successful teams that have incorporated winning cultures down through the years. I suppose trying to, you know, instill a good culture in there, that guys are comfortable and they understand what it takes to win. And, you know, when you're 34 years of age, you do know an awful lot about the game. I've been so lucky to have been coached by some really good coaches down through the years. And I suppose I've surprised myself a little bit coming over here at how much, you know, IP that I actually have picked up over the last 15 years that I'm in a position now to be able to, you know, to help transfer some of that into this new group and lend some, you know, advice where I see fit.
You were recently mic'd up for your debut game with the Western Force. How was that as an experience?
Forwards, don't dip your head. We've got to get two around the corner. Right, we're missing those two, so we're having to go around.
I've done it a few times before. Sky Sports used to do it back in the league a few times. It's the same size as a GPS monitor. You've got a little microphone on the front of your chest, but you don't notice it once the game is up and running. You know, these things are so advanced and small now at the moment that, you know, you don't pay much attention to them.
So one final question for me, Rob. Present company excluded, and you can't say Kevin Croke. Who was the best player you played with in UCD, and who would you have thought was, wow, that guy's going to be really, really good?
I suppose in the back three, you know, I would have played a lot of games with Vaz at the time. And he was just electric, and he was so agile, and there was something, you know, so beautiful about the way that he moved and he ran. You know, and it was so nice after the Russia game in the World Cup last year. The two of us swapped our jerseys and we took a photo together, and they're sort of, you know, back to the forging relationships a little bit again, that you can meet so many years down the line in a World Cup and you still have that bond together. So he would always be one of the guys.